This project is a snowflake. You'll need yarn, scissors, stitch markers, your crochet hook, and a yarn needle. We'll start this project with a magic ring. Chain 4 from your magic ring, then add a double crochet stitch. You'll go through the tail and the ring. Then chain 1. Add another double crochet stitch and chain 1. We'll repeat this pattern 9 more times for a total of 12 double crochet stitches and 12 chains. That includes your first 4 chains as 1 double crochet and 1 chain. You can find the posts by spreading out the work a little bit, and there'll be these individual stitches. Each one is 1. So now that we have 12 and we've done our final chain 1, we're going to close our work through the 3rd chain of our chain 4. So you can pull on this chain 4. You can see 1, 2, 3. So right through the back loop of that 3rd chain, we'll slip stitch to close the circle. Now is a good time to mess around with the tail end, either pulling it tighter to close the circle or stretching it out of it to make sure everything fits neatly. Next, we're going to identify the chain spaces. Just like we pulled on our work to be able to find the stitches, the holes that we're creating by separating the stitches are our chain spaces. They go right underneath this chain where there's no stitch there, just a floating chain. For round 2, we'll begin by chaining 5. We're going to find our first chain space, which is the chain space of that first double crochet, which is actually a chain 4. But still we have a chain space right here. You can see our chains coming out, and then this chain space is just directly to the left of it. Insert the hook, pull up a loop, and complete a slip stitch. Then we'll chain 5 again, and slip stitch through the next chain space. Again, chain 5, and the chain space is right in between these 2 double crochets. We'll be making 12 of these little loops, 1 for each chain space. When you get to the end of round 2, slip stitch through that final chain space, and then we'll slip stitch into this first chain 5 loop to get us up to start round 3. For round 3, we'll start by chaining 3 and putting a slip stitch through this same chain 5 space. Then we'll add a slip stitch to the next chain 5 space on the left, chain 5, and then count down 3 chains from the hook. We have 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, right here. We're going to add a single crochet stitch through the 3rd chain, the one that we just marked, and then we'll chain 2. We'll slip stitch through the 3rd chain, back again where that stitch marker is, and chain another 2. One final time, we're slip stitching where our stitch marker is, and then we can remove that stitch marker. We'll slip stitch through the 2nd chain. That's going to be the next one we come across. And finally, there's one more chain left, and we'll slip stitch through that one as well. So after we slip stitch into this first chain, we're going to skip over to the next loop of chain 5, slip stitch into that one, and then go one more time and slip stitch into the next loop. One spear for every 2 chain 5 loops. So now that we're into the next one, we'll chain 5 again. We can mark this 3rd chain. This marked chain is where we are going to single crochet, chain 2, then slip stitch, chain 2, slip stitch. We'll take the stitch marker out, slip stitch down these last 2 chains, and then skip ahead to that next loop. Here's the one we're working out of, here's the next one. Slip stitch into that, and then again into the next one after that. Don't worry, we'll go over that one more time. Chaining 5, marking that middle chain, a single crochet, a chain 2, a slip stitch, a chain 2, a slip stitch, taking that stitch marker out, slip stitching down this arm, into the next loop, into the loop after that. You can see now with 3 spikes, it's starting to pull our snowflake a little bit tighter. So you might want to close that center circle just a bit more. Once you reach the last one, we're gonna slip stitch into the loop and then slip stitch back into that first loop to close it up. Chain 1 and cut a little bit of a longer tail than you're used to. Like we normally do to pull our hook out, start pulling it, but stop when you've created a little bit of a loop. You can pull this loop up anywhere you'd like to create a place to hang it like an ornament. If you'd prefer to sew this onto a different project, then you can just pull through like normal and weave in the end. But if you'd like to make this loop, we're just going to weave in this tail and not pull anything too tight. Weave it right through the back of the project. Again, if you pull too tight, your hoop will start to close, but you can always get a little bit more room. Weave it through a couple stitches on the back until you meet your tail from the beginning. I like to tie these together so neither of them come unraveled. Once you get to this part, you can tie nice and tight. One more time, we're going to send these through a few stitches. Pull them through. Cut the ends nice and short. And now you've created the perfect winter decoration